My fellow technicians, Apple enthusiasts, those who would love to see Apple fail miserably, I sit here in this chair before you to discuss, as we approach WWDC, the state of the Apple Union. When I was last before this body, the state of the Apple Union was in flux. And I don't know that I found it to be any better as we speak today. Since last I stood before this august body, much has happened in the world of Apple. Some good, some bad, some... As we approach WWDC, we find Apple at a crossroads yet again. Since last year's conference, we've seen some fruitful steps in the right direction, and yet a few more cow pies in the road of progress for our great, fruitful company. The masses clamor for change, and yet, what is Apple to do? This year's WWDC will set a tone for what we will see out of our giant spaceship donut. Let's get a look at what some of our sage prognosticators have deemed predictable. And then I, as your representative here on this Painfully Honest YouTube channel, would like to see. So what do we expect? And what do I want from WWDC? So it's going to start on June 4th. It's going to go through June 8th. It's going to go through June 8th. And as somebody pointed out to me earlier today, that is just over a couple of weeks from now. So suddenly it's the halfway point of the year. Some things we're going to see. We're going to see on the software side iOS 12, macOS 10.14. When are they just going to roll over to like 11? I don't know. Which might show us some cross-platform iOS and Mac apps for the first time. This is the way Apple's been going for a while, and so now it seems like maybe it's going to happen. We're possibly going to see a new TV OS 12, but the Apple TV continues to just kind of like putter along. They redid it. They said there was going to be all this good stuff, and then the content is just, so they say there's going to be new content perhaps for Apple TV. I don't know. And then watchOS 5. watchOS 5 is going to be super exciting. I can feel it right now because watchOS 4 was awesome. And so now watchOS 5 is going to just be even more awesome. Will we perhaps see a round Apple Watch? I couldn't give a crap. But we might. Who knows? Speaking of Apple Watch, let's move on to talk about the hardware. We might get a Mac Pro update. So they moved the Mac Pro from being released this year to being released next year. So the thought is maybe in this one conference, we may get news of what it might look like, how it might be spec'd. Who knows what we're going to find out? Maybe nothing. Maybe we'll find out it's pushed back to 2020. We just have to wait and see. There's also rumors of a new Apple monitor, a professional monitor. It's been a while since they had one of those. They had the Thunderbolt display, and that was a really awesome monitor. But unfortunately, 1080p when everybody was moving to 4K, and they still wanted $1,000 for it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with for a new professional monitor, but I doubt I'll be able to afford one when it comes out. There's also talk of a new iPhone SE 2. Can you have a second special edition phone? Sometimes I think they just don't think through this naming thing very well. What's it going to look like? Is it going to look like the iPhone 5S? Is it going to still have a home button? Is it going to have like some kind of all glass screen with the notch and all that kind of stuff? I mean, there have been many discussions about what the iPhone SE 2 might be. I'm anxious to see what the pricing is. Will the pricing be still in the reasonable ballpark? That would be nice. Will it get updated to the latest processors? Will it even exist? These are things that we cannot know. Will we potentially get a look at these new iPhone models that we keep hearing all the rumors about? Will there be a gargantuan 6.5-inch iPhone X Plus or iX Plus or whatever Will there be a cheaper model? Will there be that model in the middle where that looks just like the iPhone 10 but isn't going to be the iPhone 10? It's not really something that they've done in the past with WWDC. They haven't really announced the phone lineup. Usually that comes in September, but maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. There's also the expectation that they will, in fact, unveil a new iPad Pro with Face ID and a bigger screen in the same size body, because it's all just going to be glass with the Face ID notch. Getting closer and closer to that all slab screen that they've been talking about for such a long time. But at what cost? I ask you. The notch. Are you going to be satisfied with a notchified iPad? I don't know. I guess now that I've seen some potential renderings, they look pretty cool to me. There are also rumors of an updated MacBook Pro and MacBook, maybe MacBook Air. In fact, the idea is that the new Mac laptop will be a MacBook Air with Retina display. What will it have? Like no ports and one Thunderbolt 3 port? Better processors? I'm not quite sure. Or is that a new MacBook? The MacBook Air and the MacBook have kind of been living in the same oxygen for the few years that the MacBook has been out. And I always anticipated that the MacBook would be what takes over from the MacBook Air. But now there's talk that the MacBook Air may be a cheaper version. Ming-Chi Kuo, who we all love, he was the first to tell us that he believes Apple is going to update the MacBook Air and reduce the price. So reducing the price, it could be like a bridge between, iPad. Well, it could be that more accessible Mac laptop that doesn't exist right now. We saw him do that with the iPad earlier this year, so it is possible. We also hear rumors of perhaps a smaller, cheaper HomePod. We haven't seen a new Mac Mini since we saw the last new MacBook Air. So maybe there'll be a MacBook Air. But Apple completely crippled the Mac Mini in its latest iteration. They took away all the customizability. They took away the decent specs. They took away everything. And now it's just like a box. The Mac Mini used to be one of the best values in computers, period, but definitely one of the best values in the Apple ecosystem. But for the past 4 years, since Apple basically cut its legs off and hobbled it, it's been an afterthought. The 2012 Mac Mini was amazing, but I doubt we'll ever see Mac go back to the days where they make a great product for a reasonable price. As iPads and MacBooks get close together, there's maybe not really any space for that Mac Mini box to exist. Now let's talk about what I want to see as your representative. I want to see an entirely new Mac Pro. I want to see that Mac Pro, and I want to see it now. It's been too long. We have too long suffered with that stupid trash can. And Apple, you have just been letting your professional customers languish in inferior computing. The iMac Pro was not enough. So we need the new screen. We need the new Mac Pro. We want it to be upgradable in many, many ways. Like, just bring back the cheese grater. Just bring back the cheese grater. It's still, it's still an awesome computer. Bring it back. So we got the iPad Pros coming, and I'm looking forward to the all screen. And maybe if we do in fact see it, I've seen some renderings where they also have a dark pencil. I would love to see a dark Apple Pencil. Although, unless it has new features, I already got an Apple Pencil. So why would I want it? This is what I really want to see, and I think the customers deserve it. The consumers have spoken, and they have said the keys on the MacBook Pro are no goody. So we need to see an update to the Mac Pro. They have spoken and said, these are crap, and they keep messing up, and my computer is useless. So I think it's time for Apple to do a little bit of a backtrack and say, you know what, that wasn't the greatest idea. We're going to make it better for you. We're going to have the MacBook Pro with a Face ID, no touch bar, and a keyboard that doesn't suck. Apple used to make the best keyboards, and now they don't. It's time to come back. If we're going to see a new Mac Mini, let's see a Mac Mini that can actually be used as a computer and not as just a paperweight, okay? And last but not least, what I would like to see the most, whether it comes at WWDC or sometime down the line, maybe they'll sneak it in as, like, instead of the iPhone SE, it will be this. I want to see the iPhone Pro. I want to see something that's a little bit more durable. I want to see something that's got, a little bit of extra this, a little bit of extra that, a little bit better camera. I want to see a headphone jack. So that's my biggest wish, is an iPhone Pro. What's your biggest wish? What do you guys want to see? What do you think you're going to see at WWDC here in a couple weeks? Please let me know, constituents. Let me know so I can bring the word to those up there in the giant spaceship donut.